The global tech world keeps talking about the venture capital winter. They said the party was over. They said the music stopped. Everyone went home to cry over the valuation. It plummeted. Meanwhile, in Lagos and Nairobi, the band just got louder. Africa didn't get the memo. We just pulled out $442 million in 1 month. That's not a winner. That's a heat wave. Let's check it out.
Nigerian fintech firm Moniepoint said on Tuesday it had raised more than $200 million in a funding round led by Development Partners International as it seeks to expand its digital financial services across Africa and beyond. The Series C financing, which also include Leapfrog Investment, Visa, Google's Africa Investment Fund, and the International Finance Corporation, is one of the largest equity fundraising by an African fintech this year. Moniepoint, formerly known as Team APT, said the funds would support its expansion into new markets and enhance its offering for small and medium-sized enterprises, which form the backbone of Africa's informal economy. This is a proud day for Moniepoint, said Tosin Inurunda, the company's co-founder and CEO. We founded the company to widen financial inclusion and help African entrepreneurs realize their potential. This funding will help us accelerate that mission. Founded in 2015, Moniepoint has grown into Nigeria's largest business banking platform, serving over 10 million active users and processing more than $250 billion in annual transaction value.
All right, guys. So that is Moniepoint. Now let's check out the next.
The electric motorcycle assembler Spiro has raised $100 million in capital in what is being described as the biggest funding round in electric mobility in any African country. The African Export and Import Bank, or the Afrexim Bank as it's more commonly known, that's provided $75 million of that capital, and the remainder is coming from a variety of private equity funds whom Spiro management so far has declined to identify. Spiro says it will deploy that capital in expanding both motorcycle assembly as well as its network of battery swap stations. Specifically, the firm aims to sell at least 300,000 battery-powered electric vehicles in 2026, while having 10,000 battery swap stations in at least 6 countries. For comparison, if Spiro does manage to actually hit that motorcycle sales target next year, that will be twice the sales volumes of Harley-Davidson in 2024.
The way to think of it is today, first, the EV bikes, Spiro bikes that we sell are cheaper than the normal ICE bikes. So our bikes are sub $1,000 and in some markets, they're $650. So they're significantly cheaper than the ICE bikes. Secondly, the cost of operation for the riders is about 30 to 40% depending on the market cheaper than the ICE bikes. So from an overall cost ownership perspective, it's about 30 to 40% cheaper than the normal fuel bikes. And therefore, a lot of adoption happening. But I think for the adoption to happen, what is important is that you have the energy infra. And that is what we are rolling out so that the rider does not need to worry about where he'll be able to get his battery swapping done. So as a point in case, Rwanda has over 700 swap stations. So every 5 kilometers, you'll find a Spiro swap station in Rwanda. And similar infrastructure being rolled out in Kenya and in Uganda. So that takes away the range anxiety or the anxiety where you will swap it. The third part that you talked about is how do you ensure that we have the energy. So, depending on the market, in some markets where energy is not an issue, we take it from the grid. Where there's an issue, then we have our own solar power that powers the swapping infrastructure so that energy is not an issue. And lastly, because we are now able to have built a tech platform on top of our EV bikes, because each and every EV bike on the battery is IoT tracked, we are able to bring down, or the banks are able to bring down the cost of lending significantly. So normally an ICE bike, the banks will lend anything between 40 to 70% interest rate to the riders. Using our platform, bankers and the lenders are able to lend only at 14-15% interest rate. So that's also bringing down the cost of ownership significantly.
The electric.
All right, guys. So 2 massive deals this month. Spiro, it's e-mobility. They raised $100 million. Moniepoint, Nigerian fintech, raised $200 million. And the part about this here that's so important is 76% of that money was equity, not loans, not debt, simply investors buying real ownership. And that means that they aren't lending us money to, support the system. They're buying into the entire system. So Kenya led the month in total capital, followed by Egypt, then Nigeria. So the smart money isn't chasing hype, it's chasing fundamentals. Oftentimes people think African startups, they can't get beyond the big 4, right? But the truth is the money is flowing into core infrastructure. So fintech, green tech, that's 90% of the capital. And Africa is now attracting conviction capital, not just hype capital. So in Silicon Valley, they're still asking other questions like, how do we order coffee faster? In Africa, we're asking, how do we power the entire grid so the coffee machine can actually turn on? And that's a much bigger market. And that's what investors are finally realizing. So e-mobility like Spiro is replacing more expensive, polluting petrol bikes, saving millions in fuel costs and creating green jobs. Fintech like Moniepoint is powering small businesses, the informal sector, the real African economy. So if this pace continues, Africa will surpass 2024 totals by more than 50% before the end of the year. So that's not hype, that's real math. So the rise of equity funding means one thing: confidence is back. Expect more late-stage deals, expect more Pan-African expansions, and there's 4 African platforms to watch extremely closely because they're quietly positioning for major capital inflows. And they are Dabshil, it's a Somali-rooted financial powerhouse, and they were trusted before tech, right? So Payce, another Somali diaspora remittance challenger, is simplifying global micropayments. Premier Wallet is redefining East African digital money with compliant, transparent rails. Additionally, Swahili's, it's Kenya's small merchant operating system for the entire Swahili coast economy. So the next wave targets for future deal flow magnets are, if this momentum holds, if it keeps going, Africa will become the global blueprint for green tech and fintech infrastructure. We're not exporting problems, we're exporting solutions. So the world is now studying Kenya's e-bike network. They want the African blueprint. So African entrepreneurs are solving generational problems. And the world is finally buying in. So, mashallah, that's your African Insight for today. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because at Mr. Empower TV, we don't chase the headlines, we chase the truth behind them. This is Mr. Empower, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.